All right, so welcome to the first official episode of the still untitled podcast. I am your co-host, Trey. I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Terrence and Ralph. And today we're mostly going to be talking about gaming and sort of the history of how not developers, I think it's genuinely like more publishers than developers, how like publishers tend to exploit both the consumer and the developers. I was actually one of the articles, we're going to get to it in a few minutes, but one of the articles I sent actually mentioned we were talking about it recently. What were the online passes that you like? If you ever bought a used game and you wanted to play it online, you were boned because like Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 had it. Especially in Mass Effect 3, that was the biggest problem where if you didn't have the online pass or whatever the actual term for it is, I can't really remember. It was online pass. Okay, yeah. So if you had that, if you didn't have that, you essentially play the game online. And in Mass Effect 3, that kind of boned you because your galactic readiness was determined by. I mean, they eventually patched it out, but your galactic readiness was determined by how much multiplayer you play, and your galactic readiness also like impacted the ending of the game. So that's one of the many egregious examples. But yeah, let's just start off with how's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? How's the week?
Man, there's the most sleep I've gotten in a while.
Like always.
Well, that's good. Anything interesting happen? Any fun stuffs?
No.
Yeah, no, not really.
This
regular
is
old weeks,
stuff.
you know?
Yeah, I get it. It was funny yesterday at work. I've been TA, or I guess they've been calling me in-class support, which is weird. But anyway, they had a helicopter come and land on like their back lawn. It was like a state trooper helicopter. They're like pararescue people, and they came. Yeah, it was like a whole presentation. They came and they had some pararescue troopers talk to the students and walk around the helicopter, like answer questions. It was interesting. Like it was cool. It was very obvious. A lot of people had never seen a helicopter before. But yeah, no, that's about it. I'm still doing that through a week. Oh, I guess I shouldn't say like that just because since this is the first official episode, I'm not sure. Last time I checked the metrics on the last episode, I think we were at 20 something plays on Spotify. I haven't checked everywhere else.
15 times. And then I figured out the other people would.
Within the first 24 hours, we had 7 plays. I was like, oh, that's 7 more than I thought you would have. So we're doing okay for a bunch of people just talking about nothing.
Mm-hmm. Which is what we're doing anyway, so we might as well just record it.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I guess we can go ahead and start with actually, Terrence, you sent an antitrust thing that I think should kick all this off, because I guess a lot of what we're going to be talking about, so we're going to talk about what I mentioned at the end of episode 0, which was specifically Ubisoft has Star Wars Outlaws is the full title, correct?
Yes.
They have, thank you, Terrence. They have they have 3 versions of the game coming out. Star Wars Outlaws is a single player. Does it have RPG elements? Because I was just going to say it's an action adventure game.
I think it does have RPG elements, yeah.
All right, so I'll just call it third-person shooter. It's essentially just a Star Wars third-person shooter where you play as an outlaw, which I'm not mad at all, to be honest with you. They have 3 different versions of this game coming. One of them is the bog standard 70, which, I should have saved that article. I got to start doing this where I read something interesting and just send it. A developer recently said that they genuinely believe that game prices are eventually just going to have to go back to being like $60 and $50.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. They're like, there's no need for games to be this expensive in the first place anyway.
Inflation.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, the second tier of Star Wars Outlaws is just, it gives you 3 days early access, and it costs $110. And then the next tier up. Well, actually, let me double check all the incentives for it, because I know it's another. You get some extra missions and weapons. I know there was a big thing where like Ubisoft had to come out and say like, "Yo, no, the Jabba the Hutt is included in every version of the game. Please buy the game." But yeah, I believe, yes, I'm double checking now. The Ultimate Edition offers the most content, including an exclusive cosmetics and a digital art book, and then the 3 days of early access. So there's really nothing physical with it, because I don't think anybody's doing any big physical stuff anymore, unless like it's a huge franchise, which Star Wars is, but I guess not within gaming. So yeah, I'm looking at a whole chart breakdown right now. So standard edition, $69.99. Gold edition is the base game, pre-order bonus of 3 days early access, and the season pass. Okay, so that's not too bad, I guess. Is $110. And then the base game, the pre-order bonus, what is the pre-order bonus? What even is the pre-order bonus?
Some outfits, some nice skins.
It actually doesn't say.
It's a surprise.
So basically, the standard game plus season pass and stuff that'll come eventually.
So Ultimate Edition is the base game, pre-order bonus, 3 days early access, the season pass, Rogue Infiltrator bundle, which I'm guessing is the cosmetics, the Sabak Shark bundle, which is probably another cosmetic, and the digital art book. So it's just a bunch of cosmetics, a digital art book, and then the season pass and early access. One, that's the Ultimate Edition, is $129.99, so $130. How do we feel about that?
Ew.
I mean, it's a lot of money for what you're getting. I don't know how much the season pass costs on its own.
Let me see if I can get any sort of answers on that.
That's more.
I was gonna say, most season passes never go over 30, because there wasn't there a fighting game that tried having a season pass that was like crazy expensive?
I mean, in general, I think the early access thing is just such a weird way to take advantage of your fans, because, like, if you allow people to pay money for early access, a lot of people are going to do it. But if the game is ready 3 days early, like,
just release the game.
It almost feels like you're releasing it later so that you can have an edition where people can play it earlier, and so you can make more money, which obviously is the goal that they have, but I guess the conversation is always whether or not that should be the goal that they have.
It's the bottom line of every business, though.
That's true.
I'm not surprised that.
Because capitalism's bad.
So the pre-order bonus is what you both said. Cosmetics. It's a Kessel Run bonus pack, which provides skins for the Trailblazer and K's speeder. That's it. It's 2 cosmetics. It's an outfit and then a skin for a speeder. That's it.
Get the F out of here.
Yeah. So that's the pre-order bonus. That just comes with it if you pre-order it. But at the same time, I'm like...
Dude, you can buy like 2 games with that.
So all of this kind of reminds me of, I guess the most... I guess the most like egregious ones. I guess we could start talking about all of it in general. Especially since, again, AI kind of plays into the way people kind of get screwed all the time, and how our governments of the world kind of let it happen. Because the only time anybody's ever stepped in recently was the Microsoft Activision merger, and that was surprisingly all countries were kind of like, no, this can't. What are you doing here?
In particular, the UK.
Well, I remember reading about it specifically in the UK. Their biggest issue was Microsoft was genuinely going to have a monopoly on cloud-based gaming in Europe, like the whole continent, apparently.
Wait, there's no other option?
Not from what I was reading.
But what about like what others? Actually, now that I think about it, what other streaming services are there? Well, gaming streaming.
Exactly. So they actually ended up selling off their whole cloud gaming service in Europe to Ubisoft. And that's how that deal ended up getting passed through the EU. I forget what it was specifically in the UK that they were blocking. I think the UK was actually the first to push it through out of any of the people who were blocking it. And I think that's mostly because like Xbox as the brand is almost as big as PlayStation over there.
In Europe?
In the UK specifically.
Oh, in the UK. Yeah, the UK, yeah, they kind of been a bit like outlier.
Yeah, because the UK is still a very big market for Sony and PlayStation.
I mean, PlayStation.
Yeah, because I was actually, hold on. I can send it to you guys right now, actually. Or actually, I can even share my screen. Just so you can see it. So here's the chart breakdown, so you guys can see it for yourselves of the full. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Haha! I can share a specific tab. This is dope. Okay. So yeah, this is the full chart breakdown. It's like this right here really isn't that much. Oh, excuse me, for $110 to be honest with you. You get the base game and 2 skins. And the season pass.
You get a digital art book? Oh man.
Yes, that's why I said like you don't get anything physical.
You don't have to worry about shelf space.
Yeah, you don't get a single physical thing with it.
This is the future, man.
I mean,
it's a bad future. It's a bad future.
Terrence, to be honest with you, 100%. Because like I get it. It's not as wasteful. It's better for the environment, but also like
this thing costs any money.
But also the digital license can be ripped from you.
Yes,
exactly.
I think it would be a great thing if their intent was to help the environment. I think there are ways to kind of offset your environmental impact that aren't just not making it. Like you can use recycled and sustainable methods of like printing it on paper, but also the goal clearly is that there's no manufacturing cost for a digital art book. And so your margins are much better on a digital art book than they are on a physical art book.
And none of the money they're saving is going back to the developers.
See, that raises the question. With digital distribution, that cuts manufacturing costs, right? Shouldn't that mean...
It's supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't that mean that the cost of goods for the consumer decrease?
Well, so I felt like that was a thing when digital first popped off. I remember digital albums were like $2 cheaper than the physical albums. Like when digital albums first came out, they were $7.99 before they became a full $10 like physical albums were. So that was one of the appeals of like the iTunes store and the iTunes library, because you could just buy a song for like 99 cents, or if you want the full album, it was like $2 cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as we like talked about a little bit, just a teensy bit on the last episode, like we've also now just don't believe that music is an art that should be paid for.
Yeah, which is sad. I mean, I think streaming music has had so many issues with how they pay their artists, which have been pretty well documented, and I think that whole situation is really kind of untenable for musical artists, which eventually we're gonna hit a point where people are gonna stop making art because they can't make a living making art, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, the starving artist stereotype is becoming not a stereotype. It's just a thing now.
I mean, I've noticed that music over the last decade is a lot more product placement overall than there ever was before.
And it's interesting, right? Because I guess we could start like slowly rolling into the whole AI thing, because I don't know. I don't know if either one of you would. Okay, now I kind of wish Clyde was here, because I know he's the only other person who was keeping up with this, but I don't know if either one of you have been keeping up with the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef, but it was big news because it was either last weekend or earlier this week. It was the same day, same weekend. Taylor Swift dropped her new album. Drake dropped an AI-generated diss track where it used an AI-generated Tupac and an AI-generated Snoop Dogg. And Snoop Dogg's still alive. And, like, I love Snoop. I do. But also, if you tell Snoop you're going to pay him, he'll do anything, bro. He'll do almost anything. So now, like, and the other a point that I wasn't aware of that somebody on YouTube had mentioned, Anthony Fantano on YouTube mentioned, Nicki Minaj actually was like an artist who signed an open letter against AI. And they're label mates. They're both on Young Money. And so now people are like, dude, the music industry, the film and TV industries, we're all coming together to rally against AI, and now you're doing it for nothing but entertainment.
Yeah, it's hard to justify kind of the use of AI in any art creation. Like, there are some areas in which it's very functional and very helpful, but I think it's very clear every time you look at AI art, you read something that AI has written, it's obvious that it has not progressed yet to the point where it can replicate like actual human artists who are doing a craft that they've worked on for their whole lives.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever get to that point, but I also think it's worth thinking about what the implications of what we choose to do are. And
I agree with that.
If we choose to use AI in ways where it becomes a replacement for people and jobs, who are we helping with that?
And I think that's the other thing too, is that we, and when I say we, I mean like common peoples, us common folks, we're kind of like at a place where we're already, in a lot of ways being low-key exploited by AI, in the sense that like nobody's taking the time to explain this in a layman's way. We're just being told, hey, it's going to help you do this, this, and that. Don't worry about it. And yeah, like, there's already been situations of people being like, yo, my face was stolen and applied to this. And like, now there's porn of me that exists. There are people getting AI calls. There were people getting AI calls that they thought it was Joe Biden telling them not to vote.
Yeah. What the precedent?
Yeah, like, that's already been happening, dog. Like, and that's the thing. Even Joe Biden is like, no. Why would I call people individually in general?
He has so much free time.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I'm saying, is that like, it's just ways that like they find to up their bottom line while continuously exploiting us. So, with that said, I finally pulled up the antitrust thing that T sent us. T, you want to run through this real quick?
I mean, yeah, it's like incredibly well documented. I think most people who know what Ticketmaster is, which is most people will know that Ticketmaster has a monopoly on like the concert and event ticket space. And I think it's hard to live in this country and not realize that our antitrust laws are not enforced in the way that they were meant to be, and in an effective way. So I think a really huge step here is like an antitrust suit against Ticketmaster, because Ticketmaster is like famously done whatever the fuck they want. They're like, we're going to charge whatever fees we want. We're going to price based on demand, which is insane also. But like, it's just, I think the whole situation with the Eras Tour and Taylor Swift kind of brought a lot of people's attention to how fucked up everything that Ticketmaster does is. And I think like you're just now seeing kind of the result of that, because our legal processes move so slow. The result of all of that interest in it then kind of culminating in this now. But I think competition is good for the consumer. Competition in the space is good for the consumer all the time. Any particular brand or company having an entire market share never benefits the consumer. They have no incentive to improve their product. They have no incentive to charge competitive pricing. There's no incentive to do anything that will benefit the consumer if you have an entire market share, which I think is why it's encouraging to see our antitrust laws actually hopefully being applied in a situation where it can benefit the consumer like tremendously.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of what you are saying and said, especially that's covered in that article, I feel like that was a lot of the worries that these governments had with the Microsoft and Activision merger, just because like it wasn't even just cloud-based gaming. A lot of when this first broke, and I think we had even talked about it, like, when did this first happen? Last year or 2 years ago now?
It was last year. Merger, right?
Yes.
Yeah, last year.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it was like it was around this time last year then that like we were all talking about it, and I believe it was actually you or Ralph, it might have been you or Terrence. One of you sent an article that was explaining and breaking down how it wasn't even really like Call of Duty that Microsoft really wanted. It was all the mobile stuff, the mobile gaming platforms. that Activision has because they have Candy Crush, you know? I think they also do they still own the company Mob Boy, the Angry Birds people?
I'm not sure about that one.
It's just insane to me that Candy Crush makes a significantly more amount of money than like a AAA game that's released every year that has like a fair amount of time and effort put into it. Not to diminish Candy Crush and what they do, but just insane to me that makes significantly
small development
more
time, high revenue.
Yeah, I am actually glad you said that because that kind of plays into. Did I send it? Please tell me I sold it. Oh, yes. Okay. So there's actually pushback now from players and video game consumers in general against microtransactions, and that's where all of this starts. So let me bring that article up right now, and I'll start sharing it because it actually, like, this article actually provides like a pretty good timeline, because it pretty much states that the first successful live service game that had microtransactions and everything was actually where is Warframe, I believe. So yeah, it was like a quick little interview. I put it in the Google Doc, but I'm just gonna run through it. Yeah, it was Warframe. So here it is right here. In 2012, one of Rebecca's company decided to release Warframe through this relatively new live service model. She was scrambling. That meant servers, round-the-clock chat, and ways to accept payments inside the game. I think we all remember when we were in college, we were all playing mobile games, and those were probably like the first games we ever saw that had microtransactions in them of any kind.
Because like the Clash of Clans, yeah.
Well, I remember it was like, oh snap! There was all those infinite runners. Like I know me, Dixon, and Thomas Rusher, and one of my college roommates. We all got addicted to like a never-ending runner that was pretty much just Spider-Man, and that had a bunch of microtransactions in it. I'm back playing Marvel Snap, and that's a mobile game that has a season pass.
Did Dixon make you do that?
No. I actually got into that game before Dixon did.
Dixon was obsessed with Marvel Snap for like a 3-month period, and I was worried about his mental health and well-being because of it.
You know, I played that for a long while too, and I'm back on it now. I'm not like crazy with it like I was when I first started, but like it's just weird to me. Like if you had asked me, I guess when we were in college, so like 10 years ago, if you had asked me, would I ever assume mobile games would end up having season passes, I probably would have laughed at you. But now, just because of where we're at with capitalism at large, I guess, not even just like specifically the game industry, but just like society, where like you guys both said, like they're just finding ways to nickel and dime everyone now. It's kind of expected, which is sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the models are really an interesting conversation to have as it pertains to free games.
Free, quote unquote.
Because you have games like Warzone and other games where like the game is free to play and the microtransactions are the way they make their money. And I think that is both problematic and not problematic in some ways. Like obviously if anything that you purchase in a free game makes it and more pay to win, then that's not a user experience that everyone's like on an equal playing field. But if these things are like simply cosmetic, then I don't see that it's a terrible thing to do. I mean, I think it's, if people want to spend their money on that, that's their choice. I think obviously in the system that we have, they do need to make money to be able to continue to make the game. But I think where you run into issues is like, I play Call of Duty a pretty decent amount. Every single time like a new gun comes out, that gun is better than the other guns for a short period of time. And every time a new gun comes out, they release a bundle for it where it has a cosmetic. And there's that like 3-week period before they fix the gun where every single person has that cosmetic for it. And then they fix it and it's not better than every other gun anymore. And it's like, if this happened 10 times, maybe I could believe that it was by accident. But when it happens 30 times, it's harder to believe that it's by accident.
Yeah. Ralph, you were getting ready to say something earlier?
Okay. No, I forgot.
Well, I know when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, a lot of people were actually kind of worried about that with the Keyblades because if you pre-ordered it, depending on the console you pre-ordered it on, you got like a specific like PlayStation Keyblade or Xbox Keyblade. And then people were like, oh, are they going to start making us pay for like Keyblades and Keyblade skins and shit like that? And like, I don't see that ever happening just because it's not like a COD game or just really any shooter in general, just because like the Keyblade's literally all you have in that game. So like, if you have to start paying for skins or just different Keyblade types for the only weapon you use in that game, what's the point of even playing the game then? Because then it's literally pay to play. It's not even pay to win.
Yeah. I think it's such an interesting conversation because I've been playing a lot of Smite lately.
Ooh,
I don't know if you guys have ever played it. It's fun. It's really fun. The second one's coming out. It is a free-to-play game. There are microtransactions, but those microtransactions are just skins.
Okay.
Like, there's no added element to it. And you can earn the digital currency in-game. It's slow, but you can earn it in-game. And I think that's a model that, fine, like, that's sustainable. If someone wants to buy a skin for a character they play a lot, that's fine. You buy that skin. But, like, when it changes into things, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with, like, Call of Duty, but they've just recently, like, in the past week or two, released multiple bundles where there are character cosmetics where if you are wearing them, you get permanent double XP.
What?
Uh-huh.
Jesus.
So, like, that obviously is crossing the pay-to-win line, right? Like, if you can earn double XP for buying a bundle for the entirety of a game, like, it counts for Warzone, it counts for the base game also. That's where we're getting into, like, this is not a sustainable business model. This isn't fair to people who don't, like, have the capabilities to pay for a skin to get double XP all the time. And that, like, I remember seeing that and thinking that's insane. They've tried to hide it for a while, and now it's just like you can pay to have a leg up on other people, which is not a way to make your fan base happy.
Well, it's also just a way to alienate any potential new players in general too, if they hear about it. Because like it's I guess since we talked about it so much on the last episode, this would be a good time to bring up Helldivers 2 again. So some people genuinely think all live service games should be free no matter what. But I'm not mad that I paid for Helldivers, but at the same time, games like Destiny 2, where like it doesn't present the story to you the same way Helldivers 2 does, and it's more of a time commitment, even with the way they dole out the narrative in a very, you gotta like go looking for it type of way. Like, because they almost, I think Ralph, you and I had talked about this once. They like Halo Infinite was almost essentially a Halo live service game, especially the way they chose to roll it out.
Oh, it's like the way they did seasons and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. Like the multiplayer came out before the campaign did. That's never happened with Halo.
They made it free and everything.
Yeah, and that was it exactly. Like the multiplayer launched on Game Pass, and I think the multiplayer was entirely free. The only thing you paid for was the campaign, and even that launched on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like, I guess I shouldn't say developers. I guess it seems like the publishers genuinely feel like, as far as revenue goes, live service is the future. But at the same, go ahead.
No, just like I can see that like decision making process. Like you pay $70 for a game one time, that's it. But you go live service, you pay $30 for a season pass every season, and you pay $5 to $10 for the in-game currency to buy skins and to buy cosmetics. Like you're dropping a lot more than a base game price on those things if you keep up with it every single season and every single time there's new content. So like it does make more money, and I think that model, if that money was going back to developers and not just increasing profit margins, then that is a thing that I would be a lot more comfortable with. But there's nothing in the gaming industry to suggest that that's what's happening.
Yeah. It's just, the thing is, I know publishers want to go that direction, but it seems to be like the last 3 to 5 years has been a pushback by consumers. I mean, after Avengers, even Destiny's nowhere near the level it used to be. And then clearly Suicide Squad. That was a
I was
flop.
going to say, thank you for saying Avengers, Ralph, because now I can actually bring up Suicide Squad. And I guess this could also snowball into talking about just all the failed live service games, because you mentioned Avengers. Me and Clyde are still on the same Anthem train, even though that's never going to happen.
Great gameplay.
What could have been? What could have been? And it breaks my heart, too, because I just saw an article earlier this month that was like, Anthem should have been a warning to 5 years later, Anthem's a warning to everyone. I was like, it wasn't that bad. Leave Anthem alone.
Gameplay is great.
Yeah, it's just the fact that, well, okay, we'll save that for when we go through a full timeline, but here we go. So Forbes essentially was like, yo, at what point do y'all just abandon this game? And I get it. And this is crazy to me. They're now peaking at 214 players on Steam, and the lowest so far during off hours was 102.
Okay.
And it peaked at 13,000. That's crazy. Just because Helldivers 2. Oh, let me get this out of here because I see ads and stuff. But Helldivers 2, I think I read their lowest lately has been 60,000. And it came out at the end of February. And it's not a big IP based live service game. It's a sequel to a live service game nobody played but me.
No one talks about the first one.
I think the first takeaway of that is continue to make good sci-fi games, please, for the love of God.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Hopefully people use it as a blueprint.
Well, that's the thing, or is do you guys genuinely believe that this is going to be used as a possible launching pad or springboard of some sort, or do you think publishers are just going to continue to learn the wrong lessons from this? Because I know a lot of people now are questioning Sony because they're pushing PlayStation to be a very big live service console, but Suicide Squad flopped, even though I don't think they had any real backing on that. Destiny 2 hasn't been hitting for years. They got Bungie for it, which is nuts.
Oh, sure.
What else? I know Warframe. I think Warframe actually launched on the PS3. Because I remember playing that on my PS3 or my PS4.
Yeah, that game is now for why?
I'm trying to think of other ones. Because there's been so many. Oh, Avengers. Avengers is the biggest one. Because not only just because you mentioned it, but also I forgot about that whole thing where Spider-Man was a PlayStation exclusive superhero, but he didn't have a story. There was no, hey, go get Spider-Man mission. It was literally just, oh, Spider-Man's on your team now. That was it. He has no content. He's just there.
Mm-hmm.
He's the biggest Marvel superhero, and they did nothing for him.
Well, they didn't want to alienate the people not on PlayStation and have parts of the story revolve around a character they can't have. But man, that game was such a massive missed opportunity in general. I don't know how you make a game where you play superheroes and it's not fun.
And for those listening, please don't think we're just dogpiling on Avengers for the sake of it. This is a game we all genuinely played and planned on playing together.
Oh, yeah.
But we couldn't because you can't do the story missions in multiplayer.
When did that game come out? Was it around the end game?
Was it?
I think it was after.
Well, all I know is that Marvel's IP was bigger than
oh yeah, it was
its peak.
Well, yeah. So here's the other thing too, is that I don't, because you're looking it up, right, T?
It was 2020.
Oh, so it was lockdown. I was gonna say I thought it was lockdown.
You should have been a success then.
Right, you see how Lockdown completely revitalized the Call of Duty franchise,
mm-hmm.
And obviously that coincided with the release of their first Battle Royale. But Warzone doesn't get how big it gets without people being stuck at home to play it and watch content surrounding it. So how do you release a game during that time where people literally can't go outside and they still don't want to play it?
That says something.
I think also, so when that game was first announced, because Crystal Dynamics was the one who developed that one. when that game was first announced, it was announced as a single-player Avengers game. And then I think they eventually announced it to be a multiplayer, story-driven Avengers game. Yeah, just a co-op Avengers game. It wasn't supposed to be live service.
Would have been fine, yeah.
And then when they showed the gameplay, everybody's like, "Wait, this is a live service. This is a live service game. This isn't story driven." They're like, "Where's the story? You lied."
And I think that's the market share that like all of the major developers are missing. Is like people just want to have fun with their friends.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be live service. Co-op, in fact, in a lot of ways is better. Like I can't tell you how much fun like me and Claude had playing through all of the Halos together in split screen co-op. Like that was
Halo co-op?
Yeah, absolutely.
So much fun. Yeah. And then I played like It Takes Two with my wife was one of the most fun experiences I've had playing a game in a long time. Like people just want to play games with other people, with their friends, with their loved ones. Like it's a way to spend time together. And I think if you make more games that are strictly co-op and not live service, where you can just play through a story cooperatively, I think that's the sweet spot. Because I do find myself passing over single-player games to play games with my friends a lot of the time.
The social aspect.
Right. So I think you marry the story aspect with the social aspect, and you'll find the sweet spot of people wanting to play. Because every time I look up anything about It Takes Two, all of the discourse is just like, why are there not more games like this?
I think it's also, too, people, or not developers, again, publishers in general, feel like multiplayer has to be something that is continuously generating revenue of some sort. And that's not always the case, because have you guys played the Overcooked games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are literally, like, you can play them by yourself, but it's so much more fun and gratifying if you play with other people.
Yeah, there's nothing better than yelling at your friends because they didn't put fish in the oven.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, oh, yeah, you get the fucking pasta's on fire. Like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, I love playing the Overcooked games with people. And that's something that you would assume would be like a live service game, but it's not. And you buy it once, you're good. Like, they'll do like some levels that you can buy, but I think at most they charge $10 to $15 for it, and you get you get I think you get like a full map's worth of like an old school Super Mario World map's worth of content. You get new characters and everything too. And so that's why I'm kind of just like, oh, I'm sorry, my phone's going crazy right now. Hold on. It's weird because like that's just how everything was released. Like you got it and you were good. I guess that's like it started changing when really I think it was Mass Effect 2 was the first game I bought that ever had an online pass, but I don't understand why.
No, it wasn't an online pass. It was I remember it was like a Cerberus pass or something like that.
Yes.
You got DLC.
Yes, that's right. It was like some specific Cerberus type shit. And like if you didn't have that, you just couldn't get DLCs in general.
No, there was some, but like they locked specific ones away.
And then that was also the one where like there were 500 promo codes to give you like specific cosmetic items, but even then sometimes those cosmetic items actually upped your stats because like I remember there was one afternoon where I like promo code hunting on like video game forums back before we had like real social media platforms, and I remember I was on a GameSpot forum and somebody's like, yo, I have a bunch of Dr. Pepper promo codes. Here you go, guys. And I ended up getting like a dope visor that added like 15% headshot damage. I was like, oh, this is dope as hell. Mm-hmm. And like, they don't do that anymore. I think I said to you guys in a text recently, the last game I saw do that, and it's the first game I've seen do this in years, was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Oh, who was it with? It was Oreo? It was some snack. Final Fantasy VII like had a promo code with them. I was like, I can't. What? This doesn't make sense to me. Why they would be promoting Final Fantasy with this item, but I'm not mad at it. Just because I was like, well, that's a cool way for like people to get some extra content without needing to pay an arm and a leg for it. And that was always kind of the purpose of promo codes, of like the publisher would make money with the people who were advertising the shit for them, and then people would buy them all this shit that's advertising the game, and they'd get a free thing for it, and everybody was making money off of it.
And you do see it sometimes with bigger games. I know Call of Duty does a lot of work with like Doritos, I think.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because Final Fantasy and Doritos. Thank you, T. Also, I'm sorry, I was lacking because Clyde just texted me that he just woke.
That's what we all figured was happening.
Continue. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I think the difference there is like Call of Duty does it with XP.
Yeah.
So you're not getting content, you're getting experience points, which, like, it's not adding anything to your experience. It's just like a partnership for partnership's sake, it almost feels like. Because, like, you can get XP in those games. You don't need any XP boost to be able to, like, compete with other people. And, like, maybe you can say it's aimed at people who only play free-to-play Warzone because it takes a lot more time to level stuff up there. But, like, there's just something about the experience of getting cool things that we don't get anymore without paying for them.
Yeah, thank you. You articulated that so much better than I was trying to. And that's the thing is still, too, like, I remember being a kid and, like, walking through, like, grocery store aisles and being like, oh, cool, look at this thing. And, like, that was who it was for, really, because, like, think about it. How many times were you in the grocery store with your parents walking down the cereal aisle? You're like, yo, I want that cereal specifically because it comes with a color-changing spoon. And your parents just look at you like, shut up.
I just tried until they got the spoon anyway.
Exactly. And then you'll just be like, but I want it. Please. And, like, that doesn't really happen anymore. I think, why does it say browser preventing recording? What do you mean? We're still recording.
Damn, am I messing it up?
Clyde's here.
Are you on Chrome, Clyde?
I'm on my phone.
No, you sound fine. It's still recording. Hold on.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, it's recording you. I mean, you joined at the perfect time, to be honest, because I was going to stop for a minute to give us a break because we've been going for almost 50 minutes. And we've actually been going pretty good, to be honest.
Damn, I missed another good episode. Fuck.
We talk all about gaming, Clyde. All about gaming.
What the fuck, bro? Nah, that's my week, bro. I've been tired all week, bro. So this is like the sleep was busted.
Because since we're gonna be doing several episodes, I wanted the next episode to just be an origin story for the podcast. So that was actually perfect that you said that.
Should I change my shirt so it looks like we recorded on different days?
I mean, if you want to, I really don't give a shit. I'll wear the same fucking hat I was wearing in the last
I'll just take it off, it's fine. They're just going to think that that's your podcast outfit. I think you should wear it every single time.
Honestly, I was thinking about making this my podcast hat. I'm not going to lie.
And one day we all dress like Trey.
He's going to be like, I can't find my hat. I need my hat.
But yeah, okay, so I guess we can leave off with this before we go into our break, because I actually really want to talk about this. This ties back into how we opened up the episode. Let me open this and I'll share it with you guys. But Valve on Steam has actually been labeling games that have early access, but they call it advanced access now, because early access is when a game's released and still technically in alpha or beta. So Valve now, let me share this. Valve now will label something that has advanced access if you have to pay more for it. Here we go. So yeah, Valve announces new advanced access label for games like Starfield and Suicide Squad. Throughout the years, we have seen many different methods used by publishers in order to squeeze that little bit extra cash from players. This is a piece written by Mustafa Mahmoud on Kit Guru. I actually started recently frequenting this website. They're pretty good. But yeah, pretty much it's like talking about how people like these developers and publishers for years have been like relying on loot boxes, microtransactions, DLC, battle passes. And that new thing that they're doing to milk more money out of people is these advanced access things. And that's why Valve's labeling it as such, just because I guess, yeah, they had to change their terms of service and everything because of this. It actually touches on that. So, like, that's crazy to me now that, like, a lot of these stores, and I left this one thing up for you guys to see, that, like, you can see there's a deluxe edition, a Grand Slam edition of Topspin, which I didn't know that was still a franchise, to be honest with you.
Me neither, and no, I'm gonna buy it.
Yo, T, I was thinking the same thing. Topspin's so much fun, dog.
Yo, with all these damn editions, I better be able to go inside the code and change some shit for these games, bro.
Okay, well, so that was actually something we were talking about, is that, like, at one point, does this actually kind of become just us being exploited?
Yeah.
Or is it just further exploitation on the part of publishers at the cost of developers and consumers?
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism is exploitation.
Yes, it is actually. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that, like, purchase this edition and play the game now ahead of full release, and it costs you €90, and then purchase this edition and play the game now ahead of full release again, and it costs you €105. It doesn't tell you why there's a huge difference. You don't see the full details of what the differences are.
Motherfuckers just got to be patient and wait for the game to be done. That's it.
Well, but it's also like T said earlier, if the game's ready, just release it to everybody.
Yeah.
But you set the release date later so that you can charge for advanced access.
Exactly.
And, people like me are going to do it. I can't say I'm not guilty of it. Like, every time MLB The Show comes out, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to play this 3 days early because it's baseball season already, and I've already been itching to play it. And then it's like, I just spent $30 for 3 days worth of playing it because I don't play online. I only play franchise. So none of the, like, other benefits that come with that edition of the game, I don't use them. Well, so I'm literally paying for early access.
That's the other thing, too, that I don't understand. I think, Clyde, you had mentioned this, is that why do you need a single-player game 3 days early?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's where I'm at with the Star Wars thing. I'm just like, why, though?
Especially you don't... with all the games that are out right now, bro. Like, this, you just wait.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, there's a glut of games out right now. We had mentioned that recently.
But like, yeah, I was gonna say, I also agree with Terrence. Like, if it's a game that, like, you've been itching for, like, if Mass Effect, they drop some shit, they're like, yo, bro, like, you can get this shit early. Even though, like, I might be skeptical of how good the game is when they do that, I'll be like, man, fuck it, I'm in there.
That's the other thing, too, is, like, you said Mass Effect, and now that I'm thinking about it, that's a double-edged knife or sword, blade in general, just because, like, think about it. If they did that with Mass Effect and Andromeda Dog, and everybody played that game 3 days early, bro. The people who waited,
BioWare will be over.
That's what I'm saying. Like, or if they did that with Anthem?
Nah, I'll be okay with Anthem, bro.
Well, that's me and you love Anthem, but also remember how Anthem ran when that game first dropped.
I know, but it was special.
I think a thing that we didn't touch on, which just came up to me when we looked at Topspin and I mentioned the show, is how, like, microtransactions and live service models have ruined sports video games.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I feel like it's ruined shooters in general. Shooters have been the same since.
Like, but, like, I think specifically, like, I play sports video games because I like to build teams. I play franchise mode almost exclusively. And the fun part for me is building a team because it's like I get to play a GM. I love baseball. I love football, especially. But there have not been major updates to, like, franchises and especially Madden and the show in years because they're so focused on, like, Ultimate Team, and I forget what it's called for the show, but just, like, the area where they can get microtransactions for people getting cards to play online against other people. Like, so much of the development focus goes into that aspect of it that they ignore the other game modes. They ignore quality improvements and how the game runs. They ignore, like, making gameplay feel smoother, because for, like, you're playing a sports game, the biggest thing you want is smooth gameplay, right? Like, you want it to feel like you're actually doing the thing physically as close to as possible. So, like, those kind of models, well, I think you can argue how much damage they've done to other types of games. I think they've genuinely ruined the experience for a lot of people who play sports games consistently.
T, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a perfect place for us to transition into trying our best to chronicle just how badly microtransactions have impacted gaming in general, and just how, like, the way it's kind of morphed and changed over the years, because everything you talked about, all I could think of was Star Wars Battlefront 2. So, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will try our best to come up with a consistent timeline of, like, how we got to this point.
Sounds good.